ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? Step up like a boss and save the day? Or see what life's like under the tree of life? Did you? If you could. Would you? When we come through, it's true magic. 'Cause we came to play. Bring the magic at Walt Disney World Resort.
There are any number of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends in your area may not be what you signed up for. That's where an agent who is a realtor comes in. Realtors have the expertise to help you find the right price and navigate the process to sell your home in a way that's right for you. That's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Hey, yo, what's good? Check it out. This your boy, Elder Sensei, one half of the legendary Artifacts. You are right now in tune to my man, Tim Einenkel, at the library on rapstation.com. Let's get it popping, y'all. Artifacts. Peace, Elder Sensei. I'm out.
I'm rising like the vapors from the dank. Off the mirror in my pocket, had to break it for a shank. What you think? Walk the plank is my motherfucking attitude. Right hand on the wheel, out the window, leaning to the left.
Boots Riley, the front man for the Coup and Street Sweeper Social Club, joins me today on the library on rapstation.com. Thanks for joining me, Boots Riley.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
So, no problem. I want to start out by getting, if you could just tell us what your definition of revolutionary music is, just for the listeners that might not know.
I believe that the kind of society I want to make is one where the people democratically control the wealth that we create with our labor. That means that the working class has to take control of the system, and we have, and in order for that to happen, people are going to have to collectively run this economic system, and we're going to have, in order to do that, we're going to have to take physical control of the facilities that we work at, right, and rearrange the way that the profit flows. And in order to do that, people are going to have to understand the class nature of the system. People are going to have to understand that exploitation is the primary contradiction of capitalism, not consumerism, but exploitation is the primary contradiction. Once you understand that, then you understand the power that the person that's working at a job actually has. And so the key is not just to understand this relationship, but the key is also to feel powerful enough to change this relationship and to understand that, you know, the workers can withhold labor and change the situation through just that. And to understand that through examples, not just through hearing about it theoretically, but to see examples of that. So where the music comes in, for music to be revolutionary, it has to be music that encourages the withholding of labor as a tool for social change. Of course, in an organized way. I don't mean just quit your job. Right. But you know, it has to encourage. It has to not just be about anger and frustration. It has to highlight the actual possibilities and highlight the actual power that we have. And when you do that, often you're going to be optimistic. And so that's one reason why the Coup's music is, you know, is often like confused with party music, or is often seen as being happy, because it's optimistic. That doesn't mean that we're not involved right now in a deadly system. That just means that we know we can change it.
You've said in a past interview that what is important to you about music / art is that it feels emotionally true to you at first. So it doesn't mean like if you hear revolutionary music doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to like it. And there's also music that's non-revolutionary music that you said you like.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how do you know when something is emotionally true? I mean, for yourself, what are you hearing in the music that you're loving?
It feels passionate. I don't, I don't really know that. It doesn't feel. It's not a technical thing,
right?
It's and it's not removed. A lot of times, and I think, I made a name for myself making, witty, very involved, or clever lyrics. Like a lot of times lyricists are considered to be lyricists because of being clever and clever in specific ways that have to do with similes, which a lot of times those similes are called metaphors, but they're not. They're similes, and sometimes with metaphor, and doing these real technical things that actually subtract you, separate you from the actual emotion that you're feeling, and it doesn't speak to some simple truths. But what it does is it kind of gets that, oh shit, like, oh, he's technically good, he can do this and do that, and it's like the difference between watching gymnastics and watching dancing, right?
Right.
Gymnastics is technically, they can sometimes do a lot more than dancers can do.
Right.
But dancers feel what they're doing, feel what they're doing, and and so in order to be that technical and that clever and that witty, we're just thinking about how to impress people, which is, there's something to be said for that. Whatever, a lot of what we do is to impress people. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm trying to make a piece of art that really, really puts forward how I feel, I'm not gonna want to be disengaged from it enough to just stick with the clever, witty stuff. One reason that I don't like spoken word and a lot of times I never believed written poets. Like, I didn't get into I read a lot of poetry, but I didn't get into it because I didn't believe the poet. Oh, yeah. I could tell they were trying to impress me. Right? Like, you don't really feel this. You're writing something so that I can, so that I can feel that you're a good writer. That's two different things. I mean, think about the music that really moves you, like the singing songs or whatever, the soul, the funk, even the pop and the rock music. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh wow, their lyrics are so clever, Like people are writing stuff and you can hear them thinking. And that's cool. That's one sort of way, and that's something I've done a lot of. But I think I moved on to actual songwriting.
Right. I actually want to go in the last album, Sorry to Bother You. It seems like you take on personas and kind of like a magical reality. And I think a good example of this is in the song "We Got a Lot to Teach You," Cassius Green. I was wondering, I was wondering whether your broader exposure to kind of new audiences and new experiences in your career have shaped the stories you kind of feel more confident in telling.
No, I think it's just trying to tell new stories. Right? You just you like. I'm not gonna want to write another Fat Cats and Bigger Fish. I'm not gonna want to write another Me and Chief the 10th and the 79 Granada last night. I want to write new stories that have different plot lines. That song is also supposed to be a dream that a character in the film version of Sorry to Bother You. I wrote a script, screenplay that actually is coming out on McSweeney's Quarterly at the end of August.
Oh, right. Oh,
And it anyway, and so the main character is Cassius Green, and in that he's having it doesn't happen in the movie, but the song is supposed to be a nightmare that he has. However, but it's a story in and of itself, and so I don't know. I think what motivates me more is trying to just be excited about what I'm doing, and for me to be excited about what I'm doing, I have to do new things. I have to challenge myself. I have to explore new textures and storylines and ways of writing.
As the monster stood before his colleagues, he sang angelically and wiped the blood off his fangs. The papers on the boardroom table were stained from corpses piled on top of them slain. One monster yelled at me, "You've got the brains," and traced his claw along the table's wood grain. It smelled like leather, old spice and pain. His assistant, when yanked by choke chain, explained.
I want to actually go in. I want to ask you about a song you just mentioned, "Me and Jesus," the pimp in a 79 going out last night off of Steal This album. One, I think it's an amazing song, but also I think the video is equally as amazing. There's always been a sense for me that you're kind of following the rap tradition of kind of like a Slick Rick. Is my sense correct there?
Well, I mean, in those songs, definitely, you can't do a storytelling rap without studying Slick Rick. He had long storytelling raps that were done in ways that made you interested in them, not just for to stick along with the story, but he definitely made that very popular. Him and Ice Cube are probably who I would say are the best storytellers in rap. So those two definitely were on my mind with that one. And then another storytelling one from Pick a Bigger Weapon was We Are the Ones, and I even put on a fake British accent in honor of Slick Rick on that one. Yeah.
Cool.
Those are definitely influences. But again, whenever you're doing any of that stuff, the goal is not to copy, but to take it somewhere else.
Right.
And so, so a lot of what went into that song, for instance, is the fact that, when we got our record deal the first time, I was in school for filmmaking, and making a movie was cost a lot of money. I could just write songs for a lot cheaper than that, and so writing that song, writing Me and Jesus the Pimp in the 79 Granada last night allowed me to put a lot of literary and references to cinema in the way that I told the story. And then I also, again, trying to take it to another level. The story actually has a lot of layers to it, a lot of metaphoric layers to the thing, and a lot of wordplay. And it has nothing to do with religion, although a woman took Monique Morris, she took the storyline and made it into a novel called Too Beautiful for Words, and she had that focus more on religion. But that wasn't what I was talking about in the song.
Cool. I want to talk a little bit more about some of the other records that I really have liked from the group. Tiffany Hall and Violet, two different tracks, but they really stand out to me in terms of, because it sounds like you're really addressing a person. Are these tracks about one person in general, or are they meant to be told as a story about a bunch of people you've kind of encountered in your life?
Now, Tiffany Hall was actually a person that I went to school with, went to San Francisco State. Chuck probably doesn't know this, but she also was part of the crew that would help bring Chuck to San Francisco State to speak. She's a real person, and as soon as I heard that she died, the melody just hit me, and the words, the melody and the words of the chorus hit me, and then I wasn't. I made part of it, and I wasn't going to do it because it just seemed, I don't know, it seemed strange to me to make a song. It seemed a little opportunist to me that to make a song from this tragedy, and I talked to her mother about it, and her mother just asked me to please finish the song, and so that part even made it into the lyrics. So yeah, that was real. Violet is a story about one person. It's a Violet story about a prostitute.
Oh, okay.
And it's not a real person though.
Oh, okay.
So and so yeah.
Yeah, no, I asked because I interviewed the Bay Area MC Locksmith about a track he did on his newest album, and it's like addressing a relationship, but what he said was interesting was that it's a combination of relationships. It's not just one relationship in general. It's just kind of like it's told as
yeah. I mean, I think that's a normal songwriter's thing to do, is that you're building a reality based on things that you know about how the world works.
Right.
Barry White, was asked, was asked, about his songs, and whether he really had relationships that were as good as the songs that, that's what the songs represent. And he was like, no, like these are about people that I wish I was in relationships with.
Oh,
wow.
So, I want to continue on. When you rhyme over, and this is in quotes, simple beats, and not to say they're simple in terms of like easy to make, because I don't think they are, but more in terms of like there's not too much going on, and it really highlights your voice, kind of, i.e., Wear Clean Draws, Violet, and even Heaven Tonight. Is this because you want your lyrics to really stand out more than any others in any other tracks? So it just so happens that the beat.
I don't really have a formula. It's just kind of like the song. I do what works in the song, and I don't go. There are some songs that are more busy, like that do tell stories, like Now or Later that has a lot of stuff going on in it. Mine has a lot of stuff going on in it, I think it's just, I take it song by song with what works. Sometimes I just want to emote that particular thing. Sometimes it might be that we had a lot more in it, and then that got taken. Then we took it out because, we stripped it down to what it really just needed to be. And so, whatever choices I make will have to do with the fact of what I want to get across in that song. But, there's no formula to it. There's nothing where I say, okay, this song needs to be this way. So there, Violet had drums in it and had a bunch of other instruments in it. And so now with that, we broke it down to there's a quartet in it, a string quartet, there's a French horn, a bass, and an electric guitar. And so that, I just do what works. And my idea of what works, I think, is different, because the truth is that the Coup has never had a hit. So for me to have a formula that I stick to, would just really not be scientific.
Right.
So I just I make the stuff that feels good,
Right.
and and I'm open to, because I was started out as a producer. I would listen to thousands of records and enjoy it. Like, we would just go to the 50-cent bin, to the dollar bin, and just buy records based on the cover or based on the name that sounded good. And I learned music through that, and listened to a lot of stuff when we were first searching. We would be searching for samples. And so then I got into doing that, and then learned how to, like, so for instance, this last album, a lot of the songs are started out by me just making a bass line on a keyboard.
Oh, wow. Oh,
or some chords or whatever, and that with the last album too, with Pick a Bigger Weapon, that happened a lot too. And then my friend Damien will come add some chords in on this or that, or or on the guitar. So a lot of it came organically, but the education around that, and the openness to all these kinds of music, came from being a producer who had to study what these other records did to figure out what I wanted to do.
All right. You mentioned before, you said the Coup has never had a big hit, so obviously you don't follow a certain formula. But what I was wondering is, especially with the current state of commercial radio and the chances of the Coup being played, are slim to none, it seems like, right? Do you guys still hold out hope that you guys will be played on commercial radio, or are you kind of just content?
No, because here's the thing. We have been played on commercial radio one time in 2 different cities. With Fat Cats and Bigger Fish, this girl, Mona Lisa Murray, somehow, I don't know how she did it, but she got us on Power 106.
Wow.
Power 106 was playing us at least every couple hours, right? It was to the point where I would get tired of it when I went to This is in L.A. Right. And in L.A., while they were playing us, we also were played on Chicago at the same time. I forget the First Lady. I forget the name of her radio show, her station, but that station and L.A. played her. In those 2 markets where we got played, each market sold 5,000 Coup albums per week.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So the point is, why wouldn't we? That proves what would happen if we got played on the radio.
Right, of course, yeah.
But we didn't get played on the radio, and part of it is the fact that we had connections to real organizations, to real organizations, so that, because I think that's the part of it that music is missing. That's the thing, is that, you have to be connected to organizations and campaigns, because otherwise it's just ideas. Otherwise it's just like professors talking about revolution. That's no better than what artists are doing, because, we're not connected to anything that people can connect to in a real way. But, the Coup, what we've tried to do is maintain connections with organizations and campaigns that once folks like our music, then it makes it easier for organizations and campaigns to get folks involved.
I want to kind of change gears a little bit and talk about your kind of what influences you in music and your writing process. So the first question is, how, if at all, have your politics changed over the years? And if your politics have changed, how has that influenced your music?
Let's see. I don't think my politics have really changed much over the years. I think that a lot of people misconstrue a lot of our politics to fit into what they thought it was supposed to be. So, for instance, people listen to music. Well, our first single came out, Not Yet Free, and it was very slow and low. Mm-hmm. And the reviewers said, is more gangster rap from Oakland, right?
Right.
Because they heard the beat and decided just based on that. Similarly, when people see certain imagery or hear certain phrases, they people thought we were a nationalist group, and so, similarly, people think that the Black Panthers were a nationalist group.
Right.
And they weren't. They were an internationalist group. They were communists, right?
Right.
And so people had certain assumptions about what we were talking about. Also, what we've always talked about is that the working class must overthrow the ruling class. What that means is that there's a certain methodology, there's a certain strategy to organizing that because we use the term revolutionary, people think that means that we're down for that. That means that we think anything that has a revolutionary aesthetic is effective, and so they're like, oh, your politics have changed. No, this is I've always been about strategy and program, and that's what we put forward. Some of my music has been about people envisioning getting to a point where it's about the battle in the street. But like I always say, like I said in one song, in Ride the Fence, bring the people with you. That's the protocol. Right. It says, I'm down for running up in Congress saying, fuck it all, but bring the people with you. That's the protocol. So bringing the people with you, that means doing things that get people involved in stuff, not just showing that you are the revolutionary and that what you're doing is the answer. No, that means organizing at your place of work. And that means starting with ways that people can get involved right here and now. Because, so a lot of folks have put their idea, what they were told in school that a movement was about, or what they were told, what they were told that we were about. They put that onto our politics, but there's not really any place that people can, so I'm sure I've changed. I've changed what I think. But in the sense that I've changed, it's been that I think more is possible in a shorter time than I thought was possible before.
Anti-trust, anti-gun, bitch on bus, anti-corporate date, anti-my essence, anti-snorting them, anti-depressants, but I'm not pro-popping them. I'm provocative and pro-stopping them FBI operatives who professional at black man pounds and hand you a sentence that you can't pronounce. I'm also anti-narco, anti-vice, 911 wants the anti-Christ, they anti-social.
I was curious, does your love for rap music inspire your activism / fighting for the common person, or is it really vice versa?
I don't know. It's hard to separate.
Right.
I love, put it like this. First of all, rap music is part of black music, and in a lot of ways, for me, there's no separations. Right. I'm not one of those 5 elements of hip hop. I don't believe in that. I think that's some shit that academics made up, and some folks that were trying to go on speaking to her, some of the early folks like that could call themselves forefathers, made up. So I can't separate my love for rap music from the love for black music in general, and that love for black music in general from the love for music, period. But, most of the music that we listen to right now is a development of black music. The first rap hit was 1963, Here Come the Judge, way before that supposed party that happened with Coup Hurt. and his sister, right?
Right.
And, so we have these origin narratives that are meant to depoliticize hip-hop, actually, and to separate it from the rest of black music, because, the history of black music is actually the history of people in struggle. And you'd have to connect it to that. I mean, when Sugar Hill Gang song came around the country and black folks heard it all around the country, nobody said, what is this new music they've got here?
Right.
It was something that we all knew. I lived in Detroit until I was 6, and my older brothers and them used to ham-bone and rap while they were doing that. I'm talking about the mid-'70s, like 75, 76, in Detroit, not in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in Oakland and Sugar Hill Gang came out, me and somebody else that was from either the Midwest or the South, we said, they got a ham-bone song on the radio. That's because, and nobody thought it was some new phenomenon.
Right.
Right? It was a development of black music. Right? And so, yeah, you could call it this or that just to explain that somebody's rapping on it. But, I can't separate how I feel about music from how I feel about the world. It all developed at the same time.
Which of your song, either one song or few songs, kind of best defined your mission using your music?
We Got the Guillotine. The song is called The Guillotine. And the song, The Guillotine, is a metaphor for the fact that we have the power to get rid of the folks that exploit us.
Mm. And then, which track is kind of for you is the most personal track for you?
They're all personal.
Right.
I mean, so and in different ways. I think when I started writing certain songs, early on I was like, I don't want to write personal songs. There's too many people that are doing stuff about interpersonal relationships and stuff like that. And I had to just trust that that if I wrote songs that were truly representing what I was thinking and feeling, if I was not closing myself off to writing about certain things and writing about certain thoughts, and if I was aware of things that were going on in my mind, that if I wrote about things that had to do with interpersonal relationships, my politics would come out in them. So Wear Clean Draws is an example. That's a song to my daughter. And the truth is that when we are thinking about interpersonal ideas, we're thinking about that with in relationship to our thoughts about the world, how we think the world works, who we think we are, all those sorts of things. So that comes out in the lyrics. So there's Wear Clean Draws. Now Later is a true story that it's personal enough to where I can't perform it, because it's about some crazy issue that I went through.
Right.
And it would just feel like it's, being trite to perform it on stage.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Pick a Bigger Weapon is about a crazy relationship I was in, actually. So it's music that is both, that is talking about my ideas about the world while talking about this crazy relationship that I was in at the time, and that had really messed up elements to it. And I related that to, so most of those songs on there are even the ones that, so of course we got Laugh, Love, Up. That's about real personal situations. There's I Just Want to Lay Around All Day in Bed With You. There's all of these things. Some of those are songs that sound like they're just talking about macro ideas about the world, but it's really talking about interpersonal relationships.
Oh, wow.
And on this latest album, you know, there's some obvious ones. My Murder, My Love is a breakup song, but it has to do with, you know, my ideas about what I thought was messed up in the relationship. I related to my ideas about how I think people should be in the world and why do I think people should be that way in the world. That has to do with my ideas on what we need to do to change things, right? So that's what I'm saying is if you're open to the ideas that are going on in your head and thinking about those things and analyzing why you feel those ways, and, you know, then your music, no matter what you're talking about, is going to represent your worldview. And, you know, so yeah.
What's for you? What's the, I guess, the best writing environment? Like where do you? I mean, I guess where. Yeah.
If I tell you that, then people will bother me while I'm writing.
What happens next when, let's say, I mean, what happens next with your music when you're, I guess, you feel like what you've done is complete? I mean, do you go to like pursue movies, a filmmaking career, or?
When I feel like it's complete, you know what I mean, the music.
Yeah.
When I feel like the album is complete.
Or when you feel like you're like, I mean, it kind of like, I'm totally not saying you should, because I want you to keep going, but like when do you know it's time for you to kind of like hang up the mic and move on to do something else?
I don't know. That's like saying, when is it time to stop talking to people? You know,
right,
like
sure.
All of this stuff is just various forms of communication.
Right.
You know, I don't think anyone should ever stop communicating. You know, here's a real thought. Like, so when I was 21, 22, and we were putting out, we were working on music. E40 and them were 26. We thought, these motherfuckers are so old to be starting out. Like, what the hell? Oh, they, you know, more power to them. You know, and we're thinking, I'm not going to be rapping by the time I'm 25.
Right.
Right? There was a whole different idea of it. Partially, and part of that comes from the disrespect that's given to the art form, right? You know, some of that is like, okay, this is for kids to do. Like, whatever black folks are doing are for kids to do. Like, you know, for instance, one of the conversations it's said to be for that's what kids are supposed to be doing, not what adults are. One of the conversations that always comes up is like how black people dress. Oh, black people dress with their pants sagging, and they don't dress like kids. They're wearing starter caps and all this kind of stuff. But the truth is, no matter what black folks have worn, you know, since it was talked about what black folks have worn, it's always been that it represents something undeveloped about the culture. So even when black folks was wearing zoot suits, or black folks was wearing just regular suits, any style that becomes popular with black folks is considered to be trivial and not serious and talked about as such. Music that black folks make being, you know, one of them. So, you know, like, so we thought, okay, this is something you do for right now real quick and get out. It's not something that men should be doing, right? Because we thought of it, because we had our own up idea about it. And, you know, the truth is that hip-hop is poetry that's way more important than, for instance, whatever was going on during the Harlem Renaissance. You know, Langston Hughes could walk down the street and nobody knew who the fuck he was. I love Langston Hughes. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying, during the Harlem Renaissance, Langston Hughes could walk down the street in Harlem and nobody knew who the fuck he was. Why? Because most people hadn't read his poetry. This is poetry. Hip-hop is for the most part, a literary art form that has the most consumers than any other literary art form. And by consumers, I don't mean buyers, I mean people that consume it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, but if you wanted to use the buyer sort of thing, I'd say that too. But so the point is that this is music that people can keep making, you know, for the rest of their life. Pablo Neruda was writing poetry until he died. Right. And a lot of that poetry is stuff that people champion right now. So I don't think that the listeners or the producers of hip-hop are any one certain age. And maybe I'm just saying that because now I'm older than 26. I don't know, you know. I'm 43 right now. But the truth is, I think that even for folks that are young, they see people making viable music that, you know, some of the folks that are even thought of on a commercial mainstream level to be currently making music and not currently making music that is still thought of as viable, relevant to the time, and artistically looking ahead are folks that are, you know, in their late 30s and 40s. As it should be. You learn how to do this as you go.
So what's next for you, but also what's next for the Coup?
So I have a script that I wrote, which is it's a real dark comedy with magical realism and science fiction, inspired by my time as a telemarketer. It's called Sorry to Bother You. The first step is that McSweeney's Quarterly is putting it out as its own paperback book inside of McSweeney's Quarterly. That'll come out at the end of August, beginning of September. August 16th, we have what we call the Coup's Shadow Box, which is it's a concert / dance party / art installation, multi-stage event that I guess you could describe as a haunted funhouse as designed by the Coup. I'm doing that in collaboration with street artist John Paul Bale and light and projection artist David Slaza. So that happens August 16th in San Francisco at Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, and we'll be taking that to different places and touring that around. The end of this month, we're doing look for our tour. We're touring, doing festivals in Europe, France, Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, and that's the end of July. So check that out, and then we'll be hitting Detroit for the first time in like 15 years or something like that at the Magic Stick on August 22nd. So cool. Check that out.
Cool. Boots Riley, the front man for the Coup and Street Sweeper Social Club. Thanks so much for taking the time, man, and talking to me in the library with Tim Einenkel.
All right. Thanks, man. Peace.
I want everybody to like chop chop when they hear this. art. True heart, I mean courage, expressed with care. Go on, draw them superheroes with the curly hair. You my daughter, my love, more than kin to me. This for you and the woman that you finna be. Tell that boy he's wrong, girls are strong. Next time at show and tell, play a Mars song. Tell your teacher I said princesses are evil. How they got all their money was they kill people. If somebody hit you, hit them back. Then negotiate a peace contract. Life is a challenge and you gotta team up. If you play house, pretend that the man clean up. You too busy with the other things you gotta do. When you start something now, remember follow through. Later on, you gon' blossom like a lotus. You'll get in the boys and the boys gon' notice. It don't matter who you do it with. Just remember when I tell you, baby, you this shit. Handshakes are promises, lies can spoil it. Words should be bond and sealed. Wash your hands after using the toilet. Brush after every meal. And also,
wear clean clothes every day. Things may fall the wrong way.
you ready?
You be lying there, waiting for the ambulance. Your underwear got holes and shit. Wear clean clothes every day. Things may fall the wrong way. You be lying there, waiting for the ambulance.
That's right.
Your underwear got holes and shit.
Man, can I get a little scratch right here? Man, can I get a little scratch right there? Man, can I get a little scratch right here? Man, can I get a little scratch right there? My boogie baby, now the world ain't no fairy tale. And it's ran by some rich white scary males. To make it simple for you, let's call them the bosses. They take money while the people take losses. Stole black folks from Africa to work for free. And we still barely get paid enough to eat. That's what I told you I be saying in my vocals. That's why the woman got the gun on the logo. The star is the future that we gon' create, where nobody steal money from the things we make. The revolution take time and space, but you as a woman gotta know your place. That's in the front, baby. I'm being blunt, baby. If they get mad, say it's their time of the month, baby. Your face is just like the sun when it raises. Thank you for adding beauty to my phrases. Handshakes are promises, lies can spoil it. Words should be bond and sealed. Wash your hands after using the toilet. Brush after every meal. And like your granddaddy told me,
wear clean clothes every day.
That's right.
'Cause things may fall the wrong way.
You ready?
You be lying there, waiting for the ambulance. Your underwear got holes and shit. Wear clean clothes every day.
That's right.
'Cause things may fall the wrong way.
Stay ready.
You be lying there, waiting for the ambulance. Your underwear got holes and shit.
Man, can I get a little scratch right here? Man, can I get a little scratch right there? Man, can I get a little scratch right here? Man, can I get a little scratch right there? Yeah, that's right. If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. Alright, baby, this is for you.
Clap your hands. 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 Clap your hands.
There are any number of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends in your area may not be what you signed up for. That's where an agent who is a realtor comes in. Realtors have the expertise to help you find the right price and navigate the process to sell your home in a way that's right for you. That's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Justin and so good. Thousands of spring deals at your Nordstrom Rack store. Save big today on new arrivals from Kate Spade New York, Nike, Sam Edelman, Free People, and Madewell, starting at only $30. Great brands and great prices on dresses, denim, sandals, designer bags, and more. So rack your look and get first dibs on spring styles you want now from just $30 at your Nordstrom Rack store. What will you find?